Okay, so this was the selection of titles on the exam that the student wrote this story for. Okay, so A, write about a time that you broke the rules. B, the wedding. C, a memory of primary school. Or D, write a story which ends, and that was the worst job of my life. Um, I'm just going to talk to you about the pitfalls of each of those titles. But first of all, I just want to address that question at the bottom there. How well did this student match his story to the story title he selected? Now, he may well have had this story in his kind of back catalogue as one that he'd written during his preparation for GCSEs. Um, and I do think the ending is a little bit incongruent. So, and that was the worst job of my life right at the end there. It probably would have been better to end on the bit where he had to reach out to Charlie and say his goodbyes. But I do think it worked because of the way that he said he was an imaginary, like it was his job. So I think that's why it worked out. However, I don't know why the student didn't pick a memory of primary school because I feel like that one would have gone better with that story. So when I was marking this for the exam board, okay, the ones that worked best by a long way were A and C. Okay, write about a time when you broke the rules. So you don't actually have to write about a time you broke the rules. You can make it up still, or you can base it on somebody else's story, or something that happened to like a friend of yours, or your brother, or your dad. Um, but it lends itself to you writing about something realistic and kind of leading up to a certain point of tension. Same with a memory of primary school. It tends to be stories of things that have happened to people that we remember about primary school. And so that lends itself to you writing realistically and building up to a certain point. The wedding was a bit tougher because what happened with the wedding is a lot of people just kind of described a wedding. There wasn't really a story. And that is a bit more difficult. So you have to actually build up to something and still have that story structure, not just describe a wedding you've been to, because that's not a story. That's just kind of describing a day out. And then C, write a story which ends, that was the worst job of my life. Um, a lot of students did pick that one, and it worked quite a lot of the time. It can just be a bit tricky because if you're rushing at the end and you forget about it, you either completely forget to put it in which case you're penalised for that, or you have to manipulate the story in a way where it doesn't seem to really work right at the end. So it's important to think carefully about titles that you select. Okay. The next couple of slides are to help you plan. Slide 21 is to help you just come up with some initial ideas. Slide 22 is more for you to have a discussion, maybe with someone at home, yourself, a friend, about what the best idea was. And then slides 23 and 24, you can plan your story. You can either plan it directly onto the story mountain on slide 23, or you can plan it onto a list form on slide 24. And then slide 25 asks you to write your story. And you can either do that in a Google Doc, or you can do it by hand, or if you really want, you can create another slide and do it on there. Okay, and then I'll do another video to re-explain how to mark your story. And I will also mark your story for you.